Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hello everyone. Myself, I'm Shahira, and my partner, Mahalachini, will present on our HACCP Plan, Salmonella in Ayam Masak Merah. This is our task 6, on 4th HACCP principle to establish a monitoring system, and 5th HACCP principle, establish corrective action for any deviation occur. This is our article for our study. Next, on the FILA table, for the fact, 4 deaths and 60% were admitted to hospital from food poisoning incident. The incident is caused by contamination of Ayam Masak Merah by Salmonella bacteria. It is occurred due to improper food preparation as the chicken left at room temperature for overnight. The suppliers supplied low quality of chicken. Secondly, on the idea, people died due to contamination of bacteria, while some of the people affected by food poisoning. The symptoms appear 6 hours to 6 days. Salmonella can be found in chicken and cause adverse effects on human health due to the improper food preparation. Third, on the learning issue, how to prevent food poisoning from occurring, what causes Salmonella, what is the safety microbiological limit of Salmonella in cooked chicken, what are the steps to control Salmonella in cooked chicken. Lastly, on our action plan, find the related information from a reliable source on the internet and sources from the journal, article, and books.
Process flow diagram. Based on process flow diagram, firstly, we are receiving of the raw material. For Ayam Masak Merah, there are used several ingredients are used to cook, such as fresh chickens, coconut milk, chilies, onions, and ginger. For this case, we are more focused on fresh chickens. After we receiving raw materials, the storage of the fresh chickens is about 4 degrees Celsius or less. To make sure there is no microbial growth in the fresh chickens. The thawing process is carried out before the processing of the cutting the chickens into the small pieces. Then the chickens undergoes the process of washings to remove the unwanted materials and solids. Then the chickens are mixed with other ingredients. The chickens are cooked about 75 degrees Celsius for 40 to 50 minutes. After the cooking, the Ayam Masak Merah shall be kept at temperature is more than 60 degrees Celsius. This is because to avoid the growth of microbial in the meal. The packaging of the meal is more to container because this will be served to the consumers directly. Then lastly, the delivery. For this case, there are 3 CCP in this process flow diagram, which are firstly the receiving of the raw materials, cooking temperature of chickens, and lastly is the store at temperature of the cooking. Based on the HACCP principle, establish a monitoring system and establish a corrective action for any deviations occur. For this case, there are 3 CCP in this flow diagrams, which are the receiving raw materials, cooking temperatures of chickens, and storage at the temperature of cooking. In this CCP, we have to identify the significant hazard, the critical limit for preventive measure, monitoring on what, how, frequency, and who, and finally we have to identify the corrective actions. For CCP CCP1 receiving raw materials, the significant hazard is the Salmonella species, and the critical limit for the each preservative measures is free from the Salmonella species, and monitoring for what is the fresh chickens, how inspect the microbial count in the fresh chickens, frequency after we receiving the raw materials, and who is the QC, quality control. And the corrective actions is to ensure the suppliers supply the high quality and the fresh chickens, and the remove the damage or the injury chickens to avoid the microbial growth to the microbial growth. The second one is a CCP2, cooking temperature of the chicken. The significant hazard is the microbial growth. Critical limit for each preservative measure is the temperature and the time for cooking. For the chicken, the cooking time is about 40 to 50 minutes, and it's around 73 degrees Celsius. And monitoring on chickens, and how we monitoring is monitor and record the temperature and time about hourly, and who is carry out the monitoring is the processing operator. And the corrective action is to cook the chicken at the appropriate temperature and adequate time. And finally, CCP3, store at the temperature cooking. The significant hazard is a microbial growth. The critical limit for the each preservative measure, the temperature for storing meal. The meal should be stored more than 60 degrees Celsius. So we have to monitoring the meal. So how we monitoring the meal is monitor and record the temperature and time after we cooking, like with the frequency is about hourly, and who should monitoring is the QC. And the corrective action is keep the meal at the appropriate temperature before the serving to the consumers.